Have you ever had a moment where the entire world tilts on its axis, where the floor gives way and you're just falling? Mine came on a Tuesday, under the sickly yellow glow of a parking garage light on Lower Wacker Drive in Chicago. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. A distorted voice on the other end, low and gravelly, said just 7 words, "You need to see this right now." Then a click, and a video file landed in my texts. My thumb trembled as I pressed play, the screen illuminating a scene I'd only witnessed in my darkest nightmares. It was my wife, Sarah, in the passenger seat of a car I'd never seen. Her head thrown back in laughter, her hand intimately resting on the thigh of a man who wasn't me. The video was short, just a few seconds, but it was enough to shatter a decade of my life into a million irreparable pieces. That stranger's call wasn't just a tip, it was the starting pistol for a race to the bottom. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first wave was humiliation, hot and suffocating. I'd just left the office, proud of a new contract I'd landed, thinking of the celebratory dinner I'd take Sarah to at Gibson's. Now, I was just a man staring at a tiny screen, my world reduced to a grainy video of my wife's betrayal. Her behavior over the past few months suddenly clicked into place like a twisted puzzle. The late nights she blamed on client dinners, the new, expensive lingerie she claimed was to spice things up for us, the way she'd angle her phone away from me with a sudden, sharp defensiveness. It was all there, a breadcrumb trail leading to this exact moment. The discovery wasn't a single event. It was a slow, agonizing bleed. I found receipts for hotel rooms at the Langham, places we could never afford, tucked away in the pocket of a winter coat. I heard whispered phone calls in the dead of night, her voices soft. Conspiratorial murmur I hadn't heard directed at me in years. When I'd gently ask who was on the phone, she'd snap, "It's just work. Can't a person have some privacy?" Her warmth had been replaced by a chilling, manipulative coldness. She made me feel like I was the one going crazy, the one who was too suspicious, too needy. She and her lover, whoever he was, felt untouchable, wrapped in a bubble of their own arrogance while I was left on the outside, pressing my face against the glass. The emotional breakdown didn't happen all at once. It was a quiet, internal collapse. One night, I found myself sitting on the floor of our walk-in closet, surrounded by the scent of her perfume on the clothes we shared, and I just wept. A deep, silent, gut-wrenching sob for the man I was and the life I thought I had. It was in that darkness that something new was born. The broken man began to piece himself back together, but the pieces were sharper, harder. The loyalty was gone, replaced by cold, calculating strategy. My grief turned to fuel. I wasn't going to just leave. No, that would be too easy. She had humiliated me. I was going to systematically, legally, and socially dismantle her. I started gathering proof. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who knew the city's secrets. He got me everything. Photos of them leaving a dimly lit bar in River North, holding hands. Credit card statements detailing their lavish weekends. Even the man's name. Mark, a smarmy real estate developer with a smug grin and a reputation for being a shark. I set my traps with the patience of a spider. I quietly moved our joint assets into a protected account my lawyer had set up. I documented every lie, every late night, every cold dismissal. The final act was set for our 10th anniversary party, a grand affair Sarah had insisted on. A public performance of our perfect marriage. She stood before our friends and family, raising a glass of champagne, a radiant smile plastered on her face. "To my wonderful husband," she began, her voice dripping with false sincerity, "the rock of my life." That was my cue. As she spoke, a massive screen behind her, which was meant to display a slideshow of our happy memories, flickered to life. But it wasn't our wedding photos that appeared. It was a crystal-clear image of her. And Mark, kissing on the balcony of a hotel room, the Chicago skyline glittering behind them. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. The slideshow continued, photo after photo, receipt after receipt, a meticulous timeline of her affair. Sarah's face went from radiant to ashen. She turned to me, her eyes wide with a terror I'd never seen before. I just stood there, my expression unreadable, and took a slow sip of my water. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Her parents looked at her with utter disgust. Our friends melted away into the shadows, their whispers like daggers. The next day, the divorce papers were served. The prenuptial agreement she'd laughed at when we signed it was ironclad, and my evidence made sure she got nothing. Mark, the coward, disappeared, his business suffering when the story of his affair with a client's wife got out. She was ruined, socially, financially, emotionally. The last I heard, she was working a dead-end job, living in a small apartment far from the glamorous life she'd craved. The revenge wasn't sweet. It was just empty. It didn't fix the hole in my life. It just made the edges colder. Sometimes, late at night, I still see the ghost of that video on my phone screen, a permanent stain on my memory. I won, but I lost everything in the process.